found The Naked Truth. Lively discussions about business, marketing, and personal development for small business owners. No hype, just help.
It's happy hour, and we are hanging out with you, just learning about what happy hour is. What is happy hour, Paul?
Happy hour is one of the great American pastimes, Ifat.
I don't drink, so I'm like, I don't get this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because you don't drink, though. It makes sense. If you don't drink, you wouldn't. Why would you give a shit about happy hour? So,
Right. Yeah.
I only have been to maybe like, let's see, I'm 46. I think I've been to like maybe like 5 happy hours in my whole adult life.
And the whole
Yeah.
point is like to get cheap alcohol, right? Like that's the idea behind happy
No,
hour.
the point is to build relationships. This is the great irony. Is
Around
you're always
alcohol.
Yeah, well, it's about you've worked hard and now you get out and you go and you hang with your people and yeah, maybe you have some drinks, but you know, mostly you're there to be with your people and talk and just, you know, sort of like I was saying to you before, this is interesting. Like in America, happy hour, in my experience, is something that it doesn't happen all the time. Like it's more of like a Thursday and Friday type of thing, right? But when I was in France, in Paris, it was every day. Like every day, people would be at work, get out of work, and then go to the street cafes and have a glass of wine or a beer and just talk.
Yeah.
And it was like that's just the routine. And I thought I found that really refreshing because it wasn't about going out and partying, right? It was
Right.
about being together,
Yes.
and I thought it was cool. It was really
It
neat.
is cool. We do that in Israel as well. You know, you just get together with friends. So speaking of friends, Natalie, right? Natalie, you're here with us. I just wanna
Natalie's
make
in the
sure.
car. She's going mobile.
She's going mobile. I'm just unlocking her. And Kuran is here watching us from LinkedIn. So guys, join our happy hour right here. BeTheNakedTruth.com/live. You can hop in and you can join us and be part of our just friends coming together and talking about stuff. And speaking of friends coming together and talking about stuff, remember this one? We're going to flip it to gay. And someone's going to get Paul's cookies.
Somebody's getting cookies. Somebody's getting cookies.
Somebody's
I'm just
getting
telling
cookies.
you.
Yeah.
My best thing I used to make in the old days when I ran a dorm at the university, I made killer brownies and Rice Krispie squares, and I sort of let that go. And it's like riding a bike though. You get right back on, right? But I'm
Yeah.
telling you, these new oatmeal raisin cookies are so dope. You want to know what the secret is?
What is the secret, Paul?
The secret
Love.
is molasses.
What?
You put 1 tablespoon of molasses in these cookies and it just changes the flavor profile a little bit in a pretty
Isn't molasses
amazing
a
way.
little, like,
I
a
cannot
little
take
bit
credit
of
for it. I found the recipe online, but
But isn't molasses a
Molasses.
little bitter?
well, molasses is a little bitter on its own. It's mostly sweet, right? It's made
Yeah,
from sugar cane,
yeah.
but it does have a little bitter note. But in these cookies, and the other thing is usually if you make cookies, where are my bakers at, right? If you make cookies, usually you put like a teaspoon of vanilla in like a chocolate chip cookie or you know, these cookies have an entire tablespoon of vanilla on top of the tablespoon of molasses. So it's pretty, well, let's bring in our mobile happy hour. Do you bake cookies?
I do bake cookies, and that's the only reason I came back because I was here on Wednesday. And you said you weren't doing my cookies.
What's your best cookie that you make?
Your cookies are working.
My best cookie recently is a gluten-free pumpkin cookie.
Oh,
They're really good. So, and the only reason I'm in my car is because I wanted to get out of my noisy office. So I'm not driving. I'm just sitting in the parking lot.
just using it. It's your studio today. That's nice.
I work from my car a lot. I'm a realtor at times. So I am used to working in my car a lot.
Yeah.
So
How's the real estate market right now?
The real estate market right now in the Portland metro area is very interesting. It's very busy. Still a seller's market. We have a very low inventory, so prices are still very competitive. And a lot of offers on nice houses, on houses that you just know they're going to go.
Yeah.
We're talking anywhere from 5 to 15 offers on a property, well over asking price.
Portland,
Yeah.
Oregon, or Portland, Maine?
Yeah, Oregon.
All right.
Yeah, West Coast.
So that is
So, yeah,
interesting.
it's-
So what do you think about what's his name? Gary was saying yesterday.
Yeah, he was right on the on point. And like I said in the call yesterday, Portland usually follows Seattle
Yeah.
when we're talking about trending. So it'll be California, then it hops over to Seattle, and then it drops down here into Oregon. And I
But do you
believe the
think
investment.
people will stop paying rent now? Like, do you think it's going to become a buyer's market like pretty soon?
Well, in Oregon, they have put in a moratorium where they can't be evicted. So for investors who have rental properties, they aren't even allowed to evict people right now.
So how are they going to
And
pay?
so-
How are they going to pay the mortgage?
Exactly. And it's going to be a weird transition, just like when we had the weird bubble in '08.
Yeah.
I've been in real estate since 2001. So I've been through a couple of weird anomalies out there, but this one's going to be a little different because the lack of jobs, people
Yeah.
not having a consistent job, and then what is that doing to people's credit scores? So
Right.
the lending is going to change because they're going to have to. They're not going to be able to lend to anybody because the majority of the people didn't work, and so then they delayed their payments. It's just going to be weird.
Yeah. So weird.
The predictability of this
weird.
is not predictable at all. There's no right. It just doesn't exist.
That's the best
So-
way to describe it.
right?
Oh
It's just
my
not
gosh.
predictable. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. But I do believe that those people who have had income, I've been very fortunate. My husband owns a business and we're a manufacturing facility. So we've been essential. So we've been able to work and keep our people working.
Yeah.
So we were lucky.
Yeah.
But for those who didn't, it's going to be rough. It's going to be very interesting. They'll probably do a lot of, what do you call it? When they take your loan and they modify it. So they'll do a lot of loan modifications. So there's going to be lenders out there really promoting loan modifications and payment reductions and extension of your stuff. So I think people will come out of it okay if they can keep their jobs on the backside. So I think loan mods are going to be a primary source of lenders work in the next 18 months.
God, I would not want to be a loan agent right now. Even though you think you'll be busy, but it'll be stressful.
It's going to be really stressful because they've got a couple of pieces in there. Underwriters are part of their process. And so underwriters are the ones who look at a lot of the background stuff for the borrower.
Yeah.
And so they'll just say, no, we don't like the fact that they were out of work for 3 months. So we aren't going to fund this loan, or we're going to bump them out of this program. And there's so many different programs out there.
Right.
So it's just going to be interesting. It's going to be different.
I have a friend who was an underwriter years ago, and I remember at one point he told me he made more money when he didn't give loans than when he did give loans.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That is so weird because that's like completely opposite of what Gary was saying yesterday, that he said he loves being the lender.
Well, now he's a private lender, so that's a different deal, right? This is like, we're talking like lending institutions, not just necessarily banks, but lending institutions. So a totally different animal there. I believe he's a private lender.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be to say like even a higher risk if you're a private lender? So then you're lending to people that don't really.
The beauty of being a private lender is the fact that you can take that property back through foreclosure. Loan institutions and underwriters, they have so many wheels in the cogs in the wheel that they have certain boxes they have to check. And being your own lender, being a private lender, allows you some flexibility. It also allows you to say, oh, well, I know COVID's done this to you, so I'm going to reduce your payment by such and such. We'll just tack it on the back end. There's a lot of more flexibility when you are a private lender than when you are a bank.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really fascinated with like how it's going to work and what's going to happen. And it kind of feels like right now we need to wait, right? And just like wait and see what's going to happen before you go and invest or buy or anything like that.
Do you think is this a really great time to be, I don't know. I'm not in that world, so I don't know the term about, but like, is this a great time to be a person who helps people with their credit because of all this stuff that's like going to come out of it? Like, will there be actually a boom in like credit, not credit management, but like people who help people resolve their credit? Because it's going to be more important than it's been for a lot of people, right? So
I think the beauty of this whole thing is that there are companies out there who are ahead of this, such as probably your insurance company that's giving you credits, right?
Yeah.
The companies are already saying, hey, we're going to do you a favor, right? Hey, I actually had Home Depot when I went to pay my Home Depot bill. They were like, hey, if you haven't been employed or you have trouble paying your bill, fill out this form and we'll delay your payments for the next 3 months.
Wow.
Right. So they're ahead of the curve on this thing, which I think is brilliant. And they're also making it easier for consumers to call and say, hey, I'm in trouble. Can you help me out? And it's giving people a little more power on their side and a little more comfort to be able to manage their own finances in times of need than in the past when it was scary, when it was uncomfortable, and when you had creditors calling you and telling your children they were going to take their toys away and put your mom in jail because she didn't pay her bill. So, which they used to do. There are laws against that now, but still, it's allowing people to take control and manage their own finances in a little more comfortable way, which I think is an empowering thing for the consumer right now. So I don't think that that self-help or that help thing is going to be.
Oh, sorry, I muted you. My bad. I was trying to mute you.
No.
It was me. I'm sorry. I was like in the middle of a sentence.
That's okay. So I just think it's nice that people are starting to feel empowered that they can control those things on their own and not be scared about it. Does that make sense?
Totally. And so I just want to say, like, I love that you guys joining us to Happy Hour. And if you guys watching and you want to join, this is the link. BeTheNakedTruth.com/live. And Natalie, you watched us on Wednesday, right? And Chriselle, you watched us on Wednesday too, right?
I did. I watched on Wednesday as well.
How'd you find us?
I actually started following with the whole David Tutera wedding planning session that we did last week. And so I started following her, and then I started noticing that she just had, great topics and things for small business owners, and I really enjoyed it. So here I am, here for the cookies.
Yeah.
What's the best cookie that you make? What's your best cookie?
I am so not a baker. I can cook, but I am that impatient person that's trying to pull the cookies out of the oven before they're supposed to come out. So I don't know if I've baked any cookies in a few years.
All right.
So actually, speaking of cookies, let's see who's on the wheel, because I see Adil and Jeff and Lee Richter and who's that lady?
You can't put yourself on the wheel. You put your
I want some cookies. Why not? I want some cookies.
You're like, I make comments.
I comment. I interact. I show up every day, right? I'm supposed to get some cookies, right, Chriselle? Back me up here.
Oh my gosh, just working it, sneaking.
And what would be awesome is if I actually. So should we spin it now? Should we?
No, we gotta, because there's more people could come in. And where's your I
think
there's got to be more people than that too, because there was some comments on LinkedIn. Like even today, wasn't there someone on LinkedIn today that isn't on that wheel?
We have.
You got to get them all on.
Get them all on. We have a Hasidic homeboy on on Twitch that we're not gonna put in here.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. He's just not being nice with his comments. So we're only taking the nice comments.
I once had in my stage show, I used to do this bit. It was one of my favorite bits, and I just stopped it for a while because I had done it for so many years. But I used to do this bit where I would hypnotize people on stage, and I would pick one person, usually a boy, because they just seem to be a little more funny about it. But I would pick a boy usually, and I would give them the hypnotic suggestion that they were the most famous professional wrestler in the world. And then I'd bring them all up out of hypnosis. I would give them a luchador mask, this blue luchador mask.
Nacho Libre.
Yeah. And then I would interview them. And when I would interview them, I would never tell them what their name was. I wanted to see what would come out of them creatively. And so I would always turn to the audience and I would say, now I'm not going to introduce him because the way he does it is better than I could ever do. I'm just going to tell you, you're really lucky today. You get to hang out with the one and the only, and they would step right in and they would say their wrestler name, right? And one of the best reactions from the crowd I ever got was this kid who he called himself the Hebrew Hammer. It was awesome. The Hebrew Hammer.
There is a Hebrew Hammer, by the way.
Is there?
Yeah.
As a wrestler?
Not as a wrestler, but what is it? It's a something. Is it a thing? There is a Hebrew Hammer. So there you go. It's a group. Yep, it's a group. It's a singer. The Hebrew Hammer is like a musician.
Oh, there was a movie. That's right.
Yeah, the Hebrew Hammer. Yep. Yep. So now you know, and now you know he's also Jewish. The Hebrew Hammer. So it's really funny because in a lot of groups and a lot of Facebook groups, people go like, if you spam or if you say something, I'm going to bring the hammer down. All right? And I'm going to kick you out. And these are the awesome communities that you're not going to be a part of. So, Crystal, what do you do? Aside, you're an event planner?
I am. I'm an event planner, and I have a little bit of a unique situation. I've also been in the dentistry field for 25 years now. So I have a full-time job, and wedding planning has kind of been my hobby, if that makes any sense. But yeah.
And so this is kind of like a very
It's not a good time to be a wedding planner, is it?
No, it's not.
You go, not a lot of weddings happening.
Well, but Paul, a lot of wedding planners have moved the wedding virtually online. Are you doing any of that?
I have not done anything virtually. This year I've got 2 events, one in August, one in October. I'm in the state of Texas, so we were one of the first to open in San Antonio, Texas.
I'm north of you.
Yeah.
I'm in Austin.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
Well, we're a hot spot right now, so everybody's worried about events.
Yeah. Hot, double hot, right? Was it like 97 degrees, 100 degrees over there?
Yes.
It's hot.
Yeah.
San Antonio is hot.
Humid, yes.
Yeah.
That was my introduction to Texas.
Yeah.
I got booked. I don't go to Texas a whole lot to perform. I got booked to perform Laredo.
Oh.
Gosh.
Yeah, and Laredo's out there enough, right? That being not knowing the state, that I was like, when I looked at the map, I was like, well, I guess I'll fly into San Antonio.
No.
So it was the only thing I could do for me trying to get from New England, right? Like I could get Southwest to San Antonio and then drive. And so I did, and it was for the school's opening in August. So I went to Texas in August, which for any of our viewers, just don't ever do that. Don't.
Right.
It's not good. And as we were coming into land, I was sitting next to a guy who was from San Antonio, and he said, "So we're in the midst of a heat wave, And I said, "No, I didn't know that." I said, "I assume it's just hot in August anyway." He goes, "Oh no, but it's extra bad right now." And I was like, "Oh, how lucky for me." I said, "Well, what does that really mean?" And he said, "Well, we have now had." It was like 18 days in a row over 110 degrees. He said, it's a new record. I said, come on. He said, no, I'm serious. And so I was like, great. And I'm from New Hampshire where like a hot day here is in the 90s usually, right?
And it's not humid.
Right.
It's
And so I get there and I walk out and I was like, it hurts your face. Why does it hurt your face? Like, I was like, what's going on? Like, and I got there and I got checked into my hotel and I was like, well, I'm not going out. Of course, you go to a city for the first time, you always hear about the river walk. I was
Yeah.
like, I'll go tonight when the sun goes down. And so I went to the river walk at 9:00 at night and it was still 105. And I was like, this is the worst place ever. Like, why does anyone?
live here, right? San Antonio is tough. It's tough even for Texans that the people like when I come down from Austin to San Antonio, it's like, oh my god. Why do you walk around with like
Born and
fans?
raised there, Cazelle?
Say that again?
Were you born and raised there?
I was actually born in Brownsville, Texas, but I've been in San Antonio for over 27 years. So I call
Oh,
this
so
home.
you're a salty
Yeah.
veteran. You know the routine. Yeah.
I'm definitely a veteran. Although I will say, we're approaching July and August and it's not that hot. It's kind of cool at night,
Yeah.
kind of cool in the morning.
That's true.
Very rainy here recently. So I
Right.
don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what's
that's
happening.
It's the weird time we live in where nothing is
It is.
consistent anymore.
Like,
Absolutely.
like I just forgot. But why don't you have your name on your thing, Natalie? I can't remember. I was like Samsung. I keep saying Samsung.
Keep saying, just call her Samsung. That's fair. He'll know you're talking to her.
But I was like she said, right? The only thing it's gonna be unpredictable. Like the only predictability.
Right?
It's gonna be
The
unpredictable.
predictability is unpredictable. That might be that's pretty much sums up 2020, doesn't it? You're like,
Yes.
It does.
like 2020, the predictability is unpredictable. Yeah.
Natalie should copyright that.
It would make kind of a fun t-shirt if you just wore a t-shirt that said the predictability is unpredictable. Now, a lot of people would be like, what? And they'd be like, yeah, but it's true though.
It's very true.
It's very, very true.
Ifat, how many companies did you say this week you heard filed for Chapter 11? Big name companies?
So we got GNC, we got Chuck E. Cheese, which I don't know if I should feel bad for Chuck E. Cheese or not, because it's like a cesspool of germs.
What's your
it's like
beef with Chuck E. Cheese?
What's my beef with Chuck E. Cheese? It's just
Games
not
and
clean.
pizza. What's the
It's just
problem?
not clean, and it's all for toddlers and babies and stuff like that, and it's it's just not a clean place and it's not healthy, but it's addictive for kids, and it's like, I want Chuck E. Cheese, I want Chuck E. Cheese. I'm like, but it's bad for you. It's like Coke for little babies. It's
All
bad.
right.
So Chuck E. Cheese is going out of business. GNC going out of business, filed for Chapter 11. Microsoft is closing all their locations, all their retail stores. They started them to fight with Apple, and now they're going out, which will be, if I recall, $540 million in pre-taxes that they have to pay or something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, very interesting week for a lot of companies. What's fascinating about that is, as a small business owner, you go like, I cannot compete with the big guys, right? And it's amazing to me that the big guys were their profit margins this low that they can't, sustain 100 days, of pandemic, or like 3 months of pandemic, or like 6 months of
I
pandemic.
think
Like
it's
it's
just
very
giving them an
interesting.
excuse.
What's that?
I think it's giving them an excuse to downsize.
Interesting.
I mean, it's
I can see that.
Yeah.
They have
maybe.
people, right? This is again where the big businesses are different from little. They have people whose job is just to sit there and forecast ways to save money constantly based on what's happening in the economy, right? So, and if you got to remember, just because they filed Chapter 11 doesn't mean they're going out of business. They're leveraging an existing loophole so they can get out of paying some debts and they can clear some things and try to keep themselves in business.
yeah,
Okay.
it allows them to liquidate.
Yeah.
Liquidate a lot of things.
Yeah, Chapter 11, when you file bankruptcy, you don't have to close your business. It's a whole thing where you get to stay in business and you can get out of trouble with some of your creditors and you can write things off and liquidate things. And, that's why, again, I don't want it to become political, but as people talked about it with the president, and when he was questioned on it back when he was running, and people were like, how come you keep, declaring bankruptcy? And he's like, because that's part of how you make money. He's like, it's a strategy, and he owned it, right? Whether you agree with it or not is a separate thing. But he was saying, I do it as part of how I make myself make more money. I don't know. Again, that's not my world. I don't know if that's true or him making an excuse, but I've seen that before, that there's people that they'll run up bills and then they'll just, file and get out of it.
Them so this is my way of not paying my commitments.
And they restructure and off they go again. Yeah.
Yeah. You can literally, and then if you do need to, you can close, right? And you close up shop, and then you just start a new company and you start all over again, and there's nothing that they can do about it. So I don't know. True. It's a weird.
Well, but I don't see how Chuck E. Cheese can file for bankruptcy, close all their locations, and then start anew. So,
well, that's what you'd have to go back and. Yeah, that's they may not. Are they literally closing every location, or are they just closing a bunch of them?
Well, they filed for bankruptcy, so I don't know whether.
But again, that's what I mean. When you file, you don't have so we had a restaurant up here that's a regional restaurant you wouldn't have in the rest of the country called Friendly's, and they started out as an ice cream shop way long time ago, and then they got into serving breakfast, and then they eventually added lunch, and they became a full service restaurant eventually. But what they were really branded with, as they were famous for, they made their own ice cream, and they got to a point where they had 200 restaurants throughout the New England states.
Yeah.
And they filed for bankruptcy, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. They're still in business. They just closed a bunch of locations, changed their allocations and stuff. And we had 2 restaurants in my town, the town next to me, and they closed one of them but kept the other one open. So they do stuff like that sometimes.
Yeah, Adil is saying that they are future-proofing themselves. They are minimizing their losses from their profits. So, it's very interesting, because as a small business owner, you don't think in ways like that of oh, okay, I'm just not going to pay my bills and I'm still going to keep all the profits.
Right.
It's a different way of being in the world.
And that's when you see small businesses file bankruptcy, what they seem the people I've known in life who've done it, they don't do what the big companies do. They close their business and file bankruptcy so that they, as if they had sole proprietorships and stuff, they do it as part of not having to get all of that left on their plate.
Yeah.
Right. So they do close, and they close up shop, and they're using bankruptcy as a way to not have it follow them for the rest of their lives.
But it does.
That's the hard part, right?
Yeah, we filed. We lost our business because of 9/11, and we had a machine shop, and had to file bankruptcy. We lost everything. We lost our house, our cars. I mean, we weren't living high on the hog. We were eating macaroni and cheese and chili, and we lost everything. Filed, and as a small business owner at that time, we didn't know, one, we could leverage that whole event. And 2, we felt obligated to repay.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so we put ourselves in a position where we repaid most of our debts. We had to pay, you aren't allowed to file bankruptcy on any back taxes that you owe, unless you stay under the radar for 10 years, and then the government writes it off. But yeah, we filed and recovered. I mean, we had to go live with my parents for 10 years. And I mean, we really went down, but we recovered, and we are building businesses again. And, as small individual people, right. It's a hard blow.
Yeah.
To do bankruptcy. It wasn't easily, considered. I had a direct line to the federal government. They had my number, I had theirs.
Yeah, right.
They came out, and they tell you how much you're allowed to pay for groceries. They tell you how much you're allowed to pay for gas, how much your car is worth, or what car you can drive or can't drive. I mean, it's just crazy. Yeah. And they go off of 1969 budgeting. So it's really? Are you serious? Right? Yeah. Gasoline was 13 cents a gallon.
Jeez Louise.
You know, so it was a very interesting education that we went through when we did that. So yeah, and people just don't view bankruptcy like that, like we used to. I mean, if you think about it, you hear about it all the time. And we bought a house a week after our bankruptcy closed. You could still get loans. You can still buy cars. You can still buy a house. The interest rate's ridiculous, but you can still do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It messes with your credit a bit, and you just have to tell them what happened, and they're like, okay, give us your paperwork. But yeah, it's crazy. Again, like I was talking before, the consumer is going to have a whole shift. It's going to be different. I'll be surprised if the FICO scores and all that stick around, because nobody's score is
That's interesting.
protected right now.
See, that makes me think again, that's where my geek mode turns on. I think that's where, for people who are entrepreneurial minded, you go, so is it, does that mean I'm so articulate today. I had a guy who's in the hypnotism industry, and he back decades ago made a huge amount of money because he saw the shift when they really started. I don't remember what decade this was, because maybe even before I was born, but the shift when they started really funneling returning soldiers into positions at the post office, right? When they started becoming a thing, like come home from duty and get a job working for the government, right?
Right.
And what you had to do was you had to take a standardized test that measured your aptitude and were you going to be good at it or not? And so he saw what was happening, and it was so he basically started what today we know, it was like an SAT prep course, but just for the postal exam.
Okay.
And he went city to city and did these I'll help you pass the postal exam courses, right?
For $20 or whatever.
Right,
he was charging people for it, right?
Yeah, and so he made a crap ton of money because he was doing these big group classes, and so that's always sort of stuck with me. After I was like, so today there's got to be some version of that, right? There's going to be, I would think, somebody who goes, you know what? People are going to need help figuring out how to navigate repairing their credit. And I know there's already is some of that, but the way that it's changing now even more, there's going to be a void for someone to step in there, right? And say, if you're a person who's really suffering from the effects of this, I can help you fix it. And it's interesting.
And you know what? You're gonna have to deal a lot with trust, right? Because all this stuff is happening, and you're like, is this another scam? Can you really help me fix my credit? How's that gonna really work? Super interesting. And if Natalie is saying everything is gonna flip and be different, then maybe you don't even know how to help people yet.
No.
Right?
Totally, right?
What if
stuff's changing?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't know. It's are the banks going to change their requirements? Are you going to have to? I know that your credit score affects your ability to buy car insurance. I know they look at your credit score for that. They look at your credit score for employment.
I didn't know that. They're for employment.
They look at your credit score for employment. Not only that, and they look at your Facebook page. They look at your social media stuff nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see how or what changes, or just to, I guess, even the playing field.
Yeah.
Because there's a big gap.
I saw an example of this. I saw a headline yesterday about the Volcker. What's it called? The Volcker rule. The Volcker rule. So the Volcker rule was created, I think, out of the whole 2008 thing, and it limits banks' abilities to use the money that's been deposited by customers. It limits their ability to take that money and invest it in hedge funds and stuff to make money for the bank. And so this is exactly what Natalie's talking about. Is I just saw a headline that said they've now decided they're going to relax that rule. So the banks are someone in behind the scenes clearly is going, hey, we're taking a beating here. We need to be able to make money in other ways. and favors were being done. And so part of that whole Dodd-Frank law that came out of the crisis in 2008 is now being relaxed for banks so that they can increase their profits. And I'm like,
yeah, and I can't remember where I read that banks have a lot of money right now.
But yeah, because people aren't making their payments.
yeah, they're holding, right? People are
holding,
holding. They're scared and they're holding. So
yeah. So let's find out who is getting cookies this weekend.
Oh man.
Ready?
Now I'm nervous. I'm like, I feel like I hyped it up too much.
Da, 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 da.
Oh, you gotta be kidding! Yes, I don't bake cookies is gonna get cookies shipped to her.
The lady that doesn't bake gets to enjoy.
Well, you know what? It's brilliant.
It's kind of like perfect, right?
There you go.
Well, then you'll just have to share the recipe for the rest of us to make our own.
I will do that. I will do it. I will make sure that we stick it on the archive of this episode so that it's there.
And then we'll see who can bake them the best. So thank you, ladies. It was so cool to have you and meet you face to face. This is so awesome. Natalie, you are going to have us help you with something Wednesday, right?
Are we doing that on Wednesday?
Yeah, we can do that on Wednesday. Want to do that?
Okay. Yeah, Wednesday's good.
Cool.
Yeah, we're gonna help Natalie with her questions about marketing, social media marketing, and all that stuff. I think I already gave you the secret that there is no secret. But
Yeah, that is true.
we're gonna help with whatever we can. So just hop on here, bethenakedtruth.com/ask. Just type your questions, and we'll prepare to help you, and we'll just help you in real time. And so until then, it was a fun first happy hour, half an hour happy hour.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll see you guys, all of you, and Paul and me on Monday at 11:12.
Musings will be had.
Musing will be had. We'll talk about bankruptcies and going out of business. Actually, no, we'll talk about the cool stuff like Elon Musk, Starlink, and stuff that actually can, benefit your life.
All right. Hey, have a good weekend, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's episode, come back and spend more time with us. You could be on the broadcast sharing your thoughts. We hang out live Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern at www.bethenakedtruth.com/live.